Hello there. According to this, I'm on live. Barely. I apologize. What time is it? It is 5:08. I am good and late today. I am truly sorry, but it's been one of those days. We're in the throes of Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, uh, blood full moons, eclipses, and Lord knows whatever else is going on up in the sky right now. Hey, got to blame it on something. As you all know, I usually am working my regular job right up to the very last minute. No, Ward, you didn't miss a thing. I was late coming on today. Um, I was working up literally to the last minute and beyond that. And then I realized, oh no, I forgot to shave. I had like 2 weeks growth. In fact, you can see because it was a very haphazard. And finally, I didn't have time to get rid of the whole thing, hence this temporary mustache, which will be gone after this show. But I just had to make myself reasonably presentable to get on here. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Ward. Thank you both for joining. Yes, I'm in royal purple. Actually, it's the first t-shirt I pulled out of I did laundry today and I just pulled it out and put something on. This is about as haphazard as I've ever been going on and doing a show. But then that's the fun of it. Just letting go and just trusting everything's going to be fine. I did have time. I got to cover the brand name on this coffee cup, but it is a homemade caramel. Yes, I showed the brand. We're not supposed to do that. It is a homemade caramel latte because, frankly, I need some high quality caffeine right now because my day is not ending after I finish this show, which I may have to leave about 6 o'clock today. Leave meaning after about an hour instead of the hour and a half or the 2 hours we went to last week, because I also have a guest coming over in a bit. We're going to watch Wicked. It just premiered on the Peacock Network. And I am one of the few people on the planet who has never seen Wicked. What do you guys think of it? Have you seen it? Ward, you or Kathy, have you seen Wicked? Um, I've heard great things about it. A few people haven't liked it, but I suspect those are the people who probably don't care for movie musicals, Broadway productions transferred to film. I happen to love that sort of thing, so I think I'll like it. Now, I've never seen the stage production of Wicked, so I don't have that to compare to, but I do know I love Cynthia Erivo. I'm very much looking forward to it, if nothing else, just for her performance. And here, Ariana Grande is wonderful. Jeff Goldblum, I used to see him almost every day when I was working in West Hollywood. I was in the health industry, and we had I was in vitamins, herbs, homeopathy, naturopathic medicine, but we also had a juice bar there, and Jeff Goldblum would come in almost every day. And so it was always fun to talk to him about his latest projects and endeavors. And I wish I could ask him about Wicked. I didn't even know he was going to be in it. What's that? Ward, you said I haven't been to movies since The Affliction, except a few documentaries with a tiny audience. Did Mr. Goldblum prefer honey to vinegar? I'm assuming you mean that metaphorically. I don't know. Oh, that's right. He played the fly. I forgot about that. I never saw that movie. I mean, I know of the movie, but I never saw it. But Jeff is just a wonderful guy. Please excuse me. I don't know of a graceful way of sipping from a hot drink and talking at the same time, but I have this new toy in my kitchen, a DeLonghi espresso machine. And I have loved it, making espresso shots, making lattes, making cappuccinos. I haven't made espresso martinis yet, but that's on the way. It was a very expensive thing to do, but if you factor in A latte such as this here in Los Angeles would be at least $6 or $7 conservatively. And the fact that I do about two of these a day, I figured, well, that means in about 3 to 6 months, my machine will have paid for itself. Yeah, right. But my sister and I joke about this. We're both very good at justifying things like that. But anyway, I'm having fun with it and I'm enjoying it very much. And how does it compare to Keurig? I've never had one of those, so I don't know how it really compares. What I have is the real deal. It's not one of these things like Nespresso or something, where you have those pods or something. No, this is where you actually grind your coffee beans and the portafilter and you stick it in and you turn it on. You actually express the espresso, and it's the old-fashioned way. And to me, it's fun. It's fun to do it that way, and it's so easy. There's nothing to it, and it reminds me of when my sister and I were doing a tour of wineries in Virginia. I've also done it in Napa Valley also, but we were doing a tour of wineries. And one of the owners was saying to us, yeah, it's a glorified, very, very expensive hobby, what I'm doing, but there's a certain romance, the romance of the grapes, the romance of making wine. And I thought, well, it's kind of like that. It's the romance of making espresso. Again, I'm good at justifying things. So let's look at some comments here. Let's see. Uh, oh yeah, Mr. Goldblum. Jeff is wonderful off camera. He's very silly and goofy at times, and you see that side of him on television. And that's something I love that he's doing, because he's always, for the most part, he started out being known as a serious actor. And as he's gotten older, he's not afraid to show that goofy side of himself, that persona. He guest hosted Jimmy Kimmel's show for a week. He's does those apartment.com commercials, things like that. That's the real Jeff Goldblum that I saw. And I'm glad that he's just saying, oh, what the hell? He's just being himself, because he's actually reinvented his career. He's got a whole new following now because of that. I think he's more popular as a result. Let's see here. Any other comments? Well, Lucy may not have found grapes romantic, but the crew got to take the leftovers home after the fight. Well, actually, Lucy would not have been doing that stunt if she did not want to do it. She had the final say so on that show. She was the boss. I mean, she would have said otherwise. Oh, no, no, no. Desi's the boss. Jess Oppenheimer's the boss. Oh, my director, Bill Asher. No, they would all say, no, Lucy was the boss. If she hadn't wanted to have done that stunt, she wouldn't have done it. And I believe was it last week or the week before I was talking about this, about how great measures were taken to keep Lucille Ball safe. She was a valuable, valuable property, Without Lucy, there would have been no I Love Lucy. Without that, there wouldn't have been Desi Lou Studios. And frankly, CBS. CBS would have been greatly diminished. It was because they had I Love Lucy, which was the #1 show on TV, massive, massive audiences, massive advertising revenue, that allowed them to use that as a cornerstone to create a whole block of hit shows and build the network. So yeah, Lucy was a valuable property, and they took great means to keep her safe. There was a story once, if you've been on a soundstage, there are lots of cables and wires all over the floor, and Lucy tripped on a cable, fell forward, someone caught her, and Desi yelled out, "Hey, fellas, you better be more careful. Anything happens to her, we're all in the shrimp business." Here's some other comments here. But I don't know if I mentioned this, but that whole grape fight scene was, Lucy liked to embellish. She was a born storyteller. She liked to exaggerate for effect. So over the years, the story got bigger and bigger. Excuse me here. Don't mean to be plugging Starbucks, but I don't know how to do it. It's a mug effect. But that she claimed in latter years that she almost drowned in grape juice. She almost died on camera, which is nonsense. That there's no truth to that. And I know this because I have spoken to someone who was there. Irma Cusley, Lucille Ball's hairdresser, was there. And she said, yes, it was in the script. They were supposed to fight and they were supposed to get a little rowdy. But Irma said Lucy's head was never supposed to be dunked into the grape juice. And there was a very practical reason for that, because Lucy's hair famously was bleached and then henna was put on top of that. And Irma said when hair is bleached, it's very porous, very absorbent. And grape juice could have permanently stained Lucy's hair. And Irma said to me, if she had known that was going to happen, had that happened in rehearsal, had it been in the script, she would have put a wig on Lucy. That episode where Lucy had the honey poured on her head and all that. Irma told me that was a wig Lucy was wearing. Lucy always wore wigs for the most part, and she had to do really messy stunts like that. And it was also for practical reasons. They rarely messed up or had to do retakes, but on the chance they did need to do a retake, Irma said all they had to do was pull the wig off, put another wig on her. Irma would always keep 2 or 3 on hand. That way they could do another take and start all over again. But Irma was watching it, and she said the truth of the matter is the 2 actresses, Teresa Torelli, I think was her name, the Italian actress, and that's another myth, that Teresa could not understand English. She was Italian. She couldn't speak English, and hence she misunderstood and got too involved. Well, that was BS. She spoke fluent English. Fluent English. There was not a word of truth to that story. But anyway, they just got very enthused. They were so into the scene, and Lucy tripped on camera, fell down, and Teresa proceeded to hold her down in the grape juice. But if you've ever seen these photographs that were taken after the scene was done, and there are full color pictures because they appeared in TV Guide that week, they can be found on the internet, I believe. You see that grape juice was maybe less than an inch deep. It would have been physically impossible to have drowned in that. But yes, Lucy's hair did get soaked in the grape juice. And Irma said, oh my God, what are we going to do? How am I ever going to get that grape juice out of Lucy's hair? And as soon as the scene was done, she said they just, well, they had to wait till the end of the show, film the last bit, because as you know, Lucy comes out all disheveled and soaked in grape juice and everything. But Irma said as soon as they're done, she rushed her off to the dressing room, put Lucy's head in the sink, and started washing her hair, hoping for the best. And thankfully, the grape juice did come out. But no, Lucy did not nearly drown. Got my Lucy story in today. Let's see. Andy. Hi, Andy. And you watch some more Buster Keaton movies. Sir, like Junior, Steamboat Bill. They're masterpieces. Oh, I love Buster Keaton so much. What's this? Award? And I think they had more fun than the real Candy Dipper. You mean that from I Love Lucy? Well, that was a case also. I've told that story about Amanda Milligan. She was a real life, just looking at this, I usually don't have a mustache. She was a real life candy dipper at C's, and they hired her to be on the show. And the funny thing about Amanda Milligan, she had never watched an episode of I Love Lucy in her life. She was asked about it, and she goes, I watch wrestling on Monday nights. So she was just very serious, not an ounce of humor about her. And Lucy said in rehearsals, she said, I want you to really hit me in the face with the chocolate. Remember that scene where the fly's buzzing and she gets chocolate on her nose and she slaps Amanda's face and then she hauls off and hits her with the chocolate. Well, they couldn't get Amanda to hit Lucy hard enough in the rehearsal. And Lucy said, no, go ahead, hit me. It's okay. It's okay. So the actual filming, something happens when the cameras are on and the adrenaline starts running and the enthusiasm, and you got the studio audience out there. Amanda hauled off and slugged Lucy. And Lucy said she saw stars. Lucy said she almost blacked out. Amanda slugged her so hard in the face. Watch for it on the film. But that's an example. The grapes and the chocolate, where there were a few little mishaps, but not as serious as Lucy later embellished them to be. But I think we're in agreement that created magic. And I'm going to take another sip of this before this gets cold. What was that? What Andy said, that's the episode where Lucy was supposed to an Italian movie that she took to the fridge. Oh yeah, that was the one. That's how they. Well, that was a case. I think the writers got the idea first of the Great Vat, and then they had to construct an episode around it. Like, okay, how do we get Lucy into that Great Vat? It was like I told the story of the chocolate dipping booth at the farmers market here in LA. You know, the famous farmers market on near the Grove Shopping Center and CBS Studios, and that's where writers Bob and Madeline went for lunch one day. It's a wonderful place to this very day to go to get a lunch. It's so many. There's so much diversity of food to go there, just anything you could ever want. And they were walking around, and they saw the chocolate dipping booth, which is still there to this day. I don't know if it's the same company or not, same owners, but the booth is still there. And they saw the chocolate dipper in there. They got the idea. Let's have Lucy work in a chocolate factory. Of course, then comes the question, how? How do we get Lucy into a chocolate factory? But they were brilliant. They did it. Oh yeah, funny, Andy. That was funny about the mouse sleeping on the train and all. Yeah, that's an example of where the writers took a situation, hence the term situation comedy, and they were able to just build and build and build upon it and have fun with it. You know, I was talking to Madeline once. I've met Bob Carroll Jr. and Madeline Pugh Davis, and they, of course, both have passed on. But Madeline said that when you had someone as supremely talented as Lucille Ball, who could literally do anything, anything, she said, you could just let your imagination go wild. The possibilities were infinite when you had someone like Lucy. You know, so I'm sure they were just probably in the writer's room just having a blast with that one. Oh yeah, I did see that quote about or about stepping on eyeballs, and that I can believe too. I can only imagine. Ugh, ugh, those things going between your toes. Ugh. Ugh. What was that? God saying, "Look, there goes Gina Lola Brigida." Yeah. Nah, you may have spelled it wrong. That's okay. I understand what you meant. That's kind of like um, William Frawley as Fred, and they were in the Brown Derby, and over the loudspeaker, paging Ava Gardner. Where? And Ethel said, "Well, Fred, I thought you said movie stars were just regular people like you and me." And he said, "What was it?" He said, "Well, she may be people, but she ain't like you and me." Hey, Joyce, thank you for joining. Oh, Joyce, how are you handling the Mercury retrograde, the Venus retrograde, the full moons, and all the other stuff going on right now? And I mean, stuff. It's been a whole crazy day today. Ward, is Pomona also on the way? I don't know. I've got to contact her later. And see if she, I don't know if she'll be joining the show today, but there's a possibility she might tonight want to watch in on um actually my friend Anastasia and I, we're going to watch Wicked tonight. I mentioned that at the beginning of the show, and I don't know if she's going to watch it at her home. She lives thousands of miles away from me, so it's not like she can just drop in. But we, as Joyce knows, we do our little video conferences with each other. It's this wonderful world of technology. And hi, Kathy. Thank you all for coming here. Joyce, there is so much going on. You should say that. You're joining in late, Joyce. You should have seen me at the beginning of the show. I was late. I was about 7-8 minutes late getting on here because I work and other responsibilities, and As I was saying, also, I was trying to shave off 2 weeks of beard and it wasn't coming off. And I thought, okay, I'm keeping this temporarily because I don't have time to do my whole face today. So this is a Mercury retrograde mustache. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining. So, Joyce, you're not signing any contracts. I'm not either. And I've learned that lesson the hard way. Well, I don't want to tell a whole lot of personal business here, but it was a very, very important agreement I signed with a lawyer. It was a lawsuit settlement, thankfully in my favor, about 10 years ago. But here was the kicker. It was right in the middle of a Mercury retrograde. And you can't just say to your lawyer, well, I can't sign that for another week and a half because it's Mercury retrograde. You can't do that. So, and I knew better. I knew better than do that. I signed the paperwork, got my settlement. And then a year later, I found out when doing my taxes, my lawyer didn't tell me about this. I found out when doing my taxes with my accountant, it had put me in a much higher tax range, higher tax bracket. So I lost almost all of my settlement to the IRS. See, that's the way Mercury retrogrades work. It was just sickening, just sickening. So, no, you never ever sign agreements during a Mercury retrograde. I know people who, I have a friend who goes, oh, I don't believe in that bullshit. I don't believe in astrology. That's nonsense. Well, I have too much evidence. Says yes, it does work. When is retrograde over? I think well, I know it's not until April. Joyce, you would know the answer to that. Joyce is a gifted astrologer. Highly recommend her. She is amazing. You've done some fabulous charts for me. And you said some good things for this year. I'm still waiting on some of those, but it's my understanding for cancers. I saw this from other astrologers. They said that it was going to start out as kind of a rough year for cancers, but the second half was going to more than make up for it and make this a really incredible year for us. So I'm waiting on it, Joyce, waiting for it to happen. And I trust you. It's me swaying a little. We are going through something of a heat wave today. It's about 90 degrees. I put my air conditioner on a little too late today. So again, this is Mercury retrograde. I'm waiting for my home to cool down, but it is hot and muggy right now. They said on the weather forecast it's only going to last a day or two, but I used to look at it this way. It's a preview of things to come, because we get some really hot summers here. And I'm that rare person who, I don't like it. I'm actually much happier in colder weather. Yeah. People often say, well, what are you doing in Southern California then? Well, it's in spite of that. I'm in Southern California, but no, I like cold weather. In fact, I thrive in like Boston or New York when it's like minus 17. I'm actually happy, but that's me. I'm weird. Let's see. Look at some other comments here. Are you still recovering from the fires? Well, I mean, I'm okay. Personally, okay. I told that the worst that happened to me was that my electricity went out for 3 days, but there were people in, um, let's say, Altadena, Pacific Palisades, Malibu, just they lost everything. So many people had their homes burned down. And in that respect, it's going to be years before people are recovered from this. But I'm also concerned because the reason we had these fires was because it was a rare drought. We used to get a lot of rain in January in the wintertime, and this time it was very dry. And then the Santa Ana winds came in and, of course, kicked it all off. Well, I'm wondering what's going to happen this summer when it really does become fire season. If we just went through that, how safe are we? So I take nothing for granted, and I just hope and pray for the best, not just for me, but for everybody here. Let's see here. Goddess, I'm a Cancer. Yeah, oh, you're a Cancer too. We're great people, aren't we? We're moody as hell, but we're great people. I was reading that the zodiac sign most likely to be a serial killer is a Cancer. My fellow Cancers and I laugh about that, but we have been known to hold a grudge. And another characteristic of us is we are probably the most nurturing and loving sign in the zodiac, but you cross us, you're out of the picture. You're gone. We will just write you off like you never existed. And I know that's not a good trait, but every zodiac sign has its little foibles and flaws, right, Joyce? Yeah, I know. Oh, Joyce, believe me, I know that. Venus in retrograde right now. Venus and Mercury. Apologize for that, but I wanted to take that last gulp before it got cold. Yeah, it's a wild time right now. Yeah, war. Yeah, schools got burned down too. I know in Pacific Palisades, a school burned down, and it's just disastrous timing. Well, not that it's ever good timing, but with all these government budget cuts and talk of cuts to FEMA, um, I worry about that. California is one of the think it I think it's the wealthiest state in the nation. I think we're better equipped to handle natural disasters than, say, some of the states like Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, that area where they get a lot of hurricanes, tornadoes. But that I think I saw the tally for all of the damage for the house fires was something around $256 billion. I we heard about all the movie stars, the wealthy people. Well, I can show you a lot of middle class, regular folk like us. They lost their homes too. And there were a number of people, they found that their insurance was inadequate because the property values here are so overinflated that people could only afford a limited amount of insurance. They couldn't insure for the full amount. And then there were other people who had their policies canceled altogether for a variety of reasons. We can go on and on there. Let's see. I'm getting behind on my. Hey, Pam. I was just talking about you. I need to give you a call after the show to see if you still want to do Wicked with us. But we'll talk about that later. I'll give you a quick call. I would have called you earlier today, but it has been insane. And Pam, the reason for this is because I'll tell it again. I was rushing right up until the last minute, and then I realized, oh no, I forgot to shave off 2 weeks of beard, and that's not easy. Us guys know that. And so I thought, I've got to go on then do this show in a few minutes. So I kept this part. It's coming off. But thank you for your compliment. Venus retro. You might get a message from your ex. Ah! I don't know how I feel about that one. Or think about past lives. Yes, I have. Actually, I have heard from some exes now that I think about it. I generally leave on good terms. Generally. Hey, Pam, did you get snow? I was telling everybody here, you can see from the sweat on me, it's something like 90 degrees right now. We're having a heat wave. It's going to be short, but it is not pleasant. I am very, very heat sensitive. It's one of my favorite things. Yeah, let's see. Where's some other comments here? How was the S word in your neck of the woods? Oh, you're talking to Pomona. I'm sorry. Snow. This is where I'm trying to read comments and look into the camera at the same time. Yes, California is the 5th largest economy on the planet. Yes, that's true. We could probably succeed from the nation and do okay for ourselves, but let's not put that out there. I don't know. I hope I try to avoid politics on here and save those for Dr. Whimsy Anderson's show that I do tomorrow, Taco Tuesdays. We get very political on that show, but it's the right format for it. Here, I try to stay a little more neutral, but it's sometimes it's hard not to go into some of those waters. Let's see here. What was that? I like it. You need a bowler, and you would look like Laurel. Oh, so you mean Stan Laurel? Oh, thank you, Joyce. Thank you. Pomona, P.S. My darling asked me about Wicked today, and he said we had it available for free now. That's fantastic. Well, I tell you what, I'm so sorry to be last minute like this, but I'll contact you as soon as I'm done with the show, and we'll make arrangements. And if you don't want to do it, that's okay too. But hopefully we can. Pardon me here, but I am it's hot in here. You're really seeing me today for all my flaws. You're Mercury and Venus retrograde. Andy, you got it on Blu-ray. Wicked, that is. You haven't seen it yet. Well, I haven't either. I have the here. It's on the Peacock Network, and it just premiered Friday. And I have kept my word to Anastasia and Pam that I would not watch it. And it's been so tempting. I wanted to just put on a few minutes, but I've stayed away from it. So I'm going to be seeing it for the very first time tonight. We all are going to see it for the first time. Andy, maybe you should put it on tonight too. Let's see. Andy, Joyce, do you think of all the kids? Let's say strong in spite of the challenges. Yes, indeed. Joyce, I had to take a break from all the news today. I'd like to take a break from the news, but I frankly can't because it's my job. Working with Dr. Whimsy, I have to have a certain amount of preparation when I do her show, because I learned early on, if I was not prepared, I looked like a deer in the headlights. When Whimsy would turn to me from her side of the screen, well, Chuck, what do you think about this issue? What is your opinion? So I don't want to be in that position again. So I usually Tuesday is a big news cramming day for me. I get out the New York Times on my iPad. I make a point of watching the television news shows for the day, get on the internet, and then Whimsy sends me a lot of pieces to read and to study. So by 5 o'clock, I'm ready to go. And of course, tomorrow is an extra complicated day because we're also doing a book review. Well, not a book review, an author interview. Book review, author interview. And I still have to finish reading the book. I don't have much left. I had a problem because the only way we couldn't get a copy of the book to me. The publisher was out. So I had to download it on Kindle. And normally I use iBooks. I never touch Kindle. So I get on there. I can't get the book. I can't purchase it. I'm like, Mercury retrograde. And I had to get on the phone with an Amazon representative, and she had to walk me through all these steps. And then it wouldn't start downloading. And I said, but on iBooks, I can download a book in 60 seconds, where this might take 3 or 4 hours. And then thankfully, 1 minute later, I had the book. So I had it, but that delayed me reading it. But we have an author interview tomorrow. Plus, anyway, to get back to the subject, I have to get back to studying the news. And I've learned it's also just important. In fact, it's essential for me anyway, to keep up with the news every day. So I'm not in such a hole on Tuesdays trying to get up to speed again. But I'm like many of you, the news is just so depressing. It's so dark. It's so depressing what's taking place right now. And Pam, you and I have talked about this personally, my dear friend in Canada and of course here in America, and we know what's going on right now. And but I have to. But then I realize also with what's taking place in the world, I do want to know what's going on. I do want to keep up with this as best as I can. And I do have some sources of news that I respect. Like I have fallen in love with historian Heather Cox Richardson. I love her podcasts. I love to read her column every day. I enjoy Rachel Maddow. I enjoy Mary Trump. I really enjoy listening to Mary Trump. She is on 5 days a week live now, YouTube, and she has her podcast. And I'm being careful what I'm going to say here, but yeah, Mary puts a very interesting spin on the man in charge right now, and I really value hearing where she's coming from. Also, being a clinical psychologist, and a family member, she really knows how to put a spin on things. Let's see here, Ward. You're in the Southeast. Well, I know that area. I was more mid-Atlantic. Virginia. I think that's kind of even though Virginia was considered a southern state, it's more mid-range. You know what I'm talking about. But we used to just get unbearable humidity back there, especially when I was living in Richmond, Virginia, and when I'd go up to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., a lot of hot air. A lot of sweltering humidity, and there's nothing worse because lots of times I would go up there because I'd go to the Kennedy Center to see a play, and I'd have a suit and tie on and be dressed nice. And of course, when you're in that kind of muggy swamp weather, you just stand in place, and it's like you've been in a shower. Like somebody just poured water over your head. That same thing happened to me when I was in London. London gets very hot and muggy in the summertime. And I was there once, and I was taking, the tube, the subway. And I don't know if they've incorporated air conditioning since then, but they didn't then. And it was the middle of summer, very humid on the tube. And I was going to the West End to see a play, and it was just crammed with rush hour people coming home, just crammed. So there was all this body heat in there and sweat and smell, and we got stuck. The train just stopped for like 45 minutes, and we're just standing there. I'm there holding on to my loop. Sweat. I mean, I looked so good, and I left, and I looked so bad. By the time I got off the tube, I mean, it was like I had been pushed into a swimming pool. I was so soaked. Yeah. Hey, Danny. Valley Forge. You live near Valley Forge? What was it, Pam? Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm tired of playing by the rules of some. I'm not going to even try to sing that. You can't wait, huh? Oh, great. I'm so glad you're going to join us. I'm so glad. Yeah, we have waited a long time for this movie. I think it's one of those things where we were talking about it. It was available video on demand, I think about 2 months ago? And it was like $19.99 to rent or $30 to just buy outright. And I think you and I both were at that point where we thought, well, it's $10 more. We might as well buy it. Well, now we get to see it for free. Well, we don't get to see it for free. I do pay for Peacock, but it's as good as free. Yep. Oh, that's a good point Ward made. Yep. No accident that Washington was built on a swamp. It needs draining too. Andy, you love singing musical karaoke on YouTube? Oh yeah, karaoke can be fun. Andy, yes, there is a second part of Wicked coming out. They filmed both parts back to back, but it's my understanding they wanted to be faithful to the stage musical, and they found it was impossible to fit all of that into a single feature-length film. It just wasn't going to work. They were going to have to make serious cuts to it and remove a lot of songs. So they decided to just film the whole thing and split it in half. And thankfully, because the first movie was a major hit at the box office, I think I read it made, I think roughly in the area, like 700 million at the box office, and that's off of a $156 million production cost. So it was a major, major hit. And I'm assuming almost all those people who watched part one are going to come around and buy tickets again for part two, which will come out this November. And then think of all the marketing possibilities. The box sets, the Blu-rays have both movies together, the streaming, whatever. Oh well. Let's see here. What was it, Pam? Ooh, Swooby Swass and Swack. Ooh. Joyce, I know you told me how much you love Tucson. Oh, I'm trying to think if I've ever been there. I've been through parts of Arizona, but certainly not for long. Paint Your Wagon, Andy. That's a great score. I'm assuming you've seen the movie with Clint Eastwood and The Wiz. I like the stage production of The Wiz much better. Maybe if I watched the movie again, I would feel differently. But I saw it when it came out initially, and I was so disappointed with it. I just thought it, and I love musicals, but I thought it was just such a snooze. It just didn't have any life to it, and it had this incredible cast. You had Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Richard Pryor, Lena Horne. I mean, all the elements were there, but somehow it just didn't gel. There was a live production of it done on NBC. Was it 3, 4, 5 years ago? I liked that a lot better. Of course, that was also truer to the stage show. Yeah, I agree, Ward. Lena Horne was definitely the best part of The Wiz. In fact, it was her son-in-law, Sidney Lumet. I can't remember if he produced it or directed it. I'm sorry, I'd have to look that up, but it was her son-in-law. And Lena Horne wanted to play the Wicked Witch. She wanted to play Eveline. And he said, nobody's going to believe you. It's a Wicked Witch. They're only going to accept you as the good witch. And so that's how she was cast. And she was perfect. I'd love to have seen Lena Horne on stage. She had a big hit one-woman show on Broadway in the early 80s, Lena Horne, Lady in Her Music. And I had the cast album for that. I must have worn it out. I played it so much. It was also video recorded. And I think it's still on YouTube. It used to pop up on PBS, but I'd love to have seen her in person. But Andy, what about Michael Jackson as the Scarecrow? It's one of those things, that saying, it sounds good on paper. I mean, the idea of Michael Jackson playing the Scarecrow, that just sounded magical. But in the movie, it was just, and not to impugn Michael Jackson, he was a wonderful, I mean, he's one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived, but it just, for me, it did not come across well on screen. There was just something missing there. Like, he never did have luck with movies. Sometimes pop stars make the transition to motion pictures, and then in his case, it just kind of fell flat, never happened. Maybe those of you out there disagree with me on that. And again, I'm admitting I should watch The Wiz again. I should watch it from a different perspective. Maybe I would feel differently. Yeah, Ward, you pointed that out. He seemed unhappy in that movie. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. There was just something energetically off. So, just something was missing. That little, it's like what Norman Maine said about Vicki Lester in A Star Is Born, to Judy Garland. Who was the actor? Wonderful actor. I'm blanking on his name. He was so wonderful. Played Norman Maine. But anyway, he said, what makes a star is that little something extra. That little something extra. And that was missing. And we know Michael Jackson was a great star, great talent, but it was missing. You're right. He seemed unhappy. His energy was off in that movie. What was that, Danny? I myself aspire to be a successful local stage playwright in my Georgia hometown. In fact, I'm Now I'm counting on it. I'm hoping in December to put on an original jukebox musical. That's wonderful, Danny. Congratulations. I wish you so well with that. Oh, yes. Please, if you come on the show more often, please just let me know how you're doing. How you're doing. I'm so support local regional theater. When I lived in Virginia, I did a lot of regional theater productions, a lot of acting, and got to play a lot of roles I never, ever would have been given a chance here in Los Angeles with all the competition here. Um, I I even did my one and only stage musical, Richmond, Virginia. I played Schroeder in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. But to be a successful local stage playwright, many, many blessings to you and good luck. Um, you're in Georgia. How far are you from the Laurel and Hardy Museum? Because Oliver Hardy was born in Georgia, and there's a museum in the hometown. Uh, and let's see, Danny, you're doing a musical jukebox production, the Music Library of Harry Chapin. Oh, that should be fabulous. He did some wonderful, wonderful songs. I had a friend in college who loved Harry Chapin, and when he died, she told me the story. She was in the car with her mother, and she started crying, and her mother was like, "Oh, stop it! Just get over it. It's just a music star. Stop it right now." So she kind of pulled herself together, and then it was a few months later. Some of Harry Chapin's music. I don't know if it was like a special on TV, like a PBS thing, or what it was. And she said she just started crying and crying and crying because she never got that chance to mourn for him, because her mother cut her off in the car and she had to suck up all of her feelings. And she said it just all came out because she loved him so much. Anyway, that's just a story I just thought of right now. Andy, what do you think about Nipsey Russell's The Tin Man? Hey, he was as I recall, he was okay. I'd have to see the movie again. You know what I remember about Nipsey Russell more than anything? There used to be a game show called To Tell the Truth, and it was in syndication. Kitty Carlisle, Peggy Cass. Anyway, Nipsey Russell used to be on that panel a lot, and I remember he was always very funny, and he was always writing these very funny poems. That's what I remember about Nipsey Russell. But as I recall, he was all right as the Tin Man, but I don't remember anything exceptional. But I'll watch it again sometime. Hey, Wendy, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. And I just lost my place here because the screw. Yes, Ward, thank you. James Mason. What I was having there was known as a brain fart. Believe me, I love that movie. I know James Mason, Judy Garland so well, but I don't know, something about being here with the laptop in front of me and I'm talking to all you guys.